Hello and welcome to Battersea Park in London. So we're here today to look at the history of Battersea Park, and in this video we're going to be concentrating on the Victorian park that used to be here and also anything that still remains to this day. But before we do, let's go back and take a look at some history of this park and where it originated from. Located in the London borough of Wandsworth and right beside the River Thames, Battersea Park was opened by Queen Victoria in 1858. This 200-acre park was built on former sunken marshland, reclaimed from the River Thames and known as Battersea Fields. The fields were also known as a popular spot for duelling, where in 1829 the Duke of Wellington used it to settle a matter of honour. But in 1845, a local vicar named Robert Eden and a builder called Thomas Cubbett, who was also a friend of Prince Albert, they had an idea to develop the land and turn it into a royal park. A bill was passed by Parliament in 1846 and 320 acres of land was purchased at a cost of over £200,000. The park only covered 2/3 of the land, the rest was let on building leases. The layout and design of the park was done by Sir James Pennethorne, who also designed Regent's Park. However, the final product varied from his original vision. 750,000 tonnes of material was excavated from Surrey docks to raise the level of the park above the river and to make it usable parkland. The success of the park hindered on the opening of the new Chelsea Bridge. At this point, the nearest river crossing would have been a great distance away. The park opened with many features, including carriage drives, boating lakes, mounds, botanical gardens and ornate features. The park was very popular throughout its Victorian period, hosting many events, including the first exhibition football game played under the new FA rules. In the early 1900s, it also had its own Sir Hiram Maxim's captive flying machine, one of many around the UK at the time. During both World Wars, the park was used for air raid shelters and anti-aircraft guns. Part of the site was also turned over to allotments to keep London supplied with food during the conflicts. And by the end of the war, the park had been seriously neglected and was in need of a major regeneration. But it wasn't until the 1950s that the park saw its first major change. It hosted the Festival of Britain, which moulded the park from its neglected Victorian roots to a modern and vibrant attraction once again. This included the famous Battersea Funfair, but we will cover those in more detail on future videos in the series. So let's begin our tour of the park and see what remains from its Victorian heyday. And where better to start the video than right on the River Thames, which the park backs right onto. And just down there is the remains of the foundations for the original Victorian mooring pier, where the boats would have docked up to bring the passengers in from central London to the park. And just over there you've got the Chelsea Bridge, and then on the other side you've got the Albert Bridge. Now all these tennis courts here have been here for many, many years, and also the giant sports field at the back over there is pretty much untouched from what it was in the Victorian era, although modernised, I'm sure, with a new building, but the actual location of what is there was there originally in the Victorian times. And this boating lake to my left is the original boating lake. A lot of it is still in the original layout all the way around this lake section in the park. So what you're seeing is pretty much as it was in the Victorian era. And we've got an old boathouse over there which we'll go check out. But before we do, there's something rather special just behind this tree here. So let's go take a look at that. And it's this building here, the original 1861 Victorian pump house. So in here would have been giant pumps, probably steam pumps, that were used to pump water into the reservoir here, which is all behind this pump house. So basically the boating lake water supply. Now today it houses a gallery and it is open certain days. But let's take a look further around behind the building on the peninsula and see what we can see remaining of the original Victorian waterfall that used to be there. Right here we're on a peninsula now, right in between all the various lakes around the park. And there used to be, and I believe it is still here somewhere, I think it's down there, cascading waterfall, like a lovely Victorian feature that used to drop into the lake. Now I do believe it doesn't work anymore, but we're going to go find it. But while we're here, I just wanted to mention this section here reminds me heavily of Central Park in New York. It really does. The fencing's pretty similar as well on the left. Okay, I think we've found it. Now this section definitely does look like Central Park with the rocks. So I think this is the remains here of the cascading waterfall. Although I've just noticed, I think these rocks are actually fake. Either that or they're... let me just check them. No, they're not fake, they're real. I thought they might have been fiberglass replica, like a replica. It doesn't look real, but they are. So here we go. It's still here. You can see where it would have gone off into the lake here. And there it is. So this is the original cascade as it was labelled on the old Victorian map. So you have water pouring over these rocks here and obviously heading down into this small culvert here, which is all blocked up today. Where's my rake when I need it? And out of there into the boating lake. So this is the boating lake right in front of us. Like I said, this is only a small section of what lakes are actually here. You can see the boats. And there's a boathouse there. Again, that is in the original location of the boathouse, but it's not the original boathouse. It's probably been changed many times. And you've got the original pier just over there where you get on the boats. But it is the exact formation that it used to be back in its early days. What fascinates me about this park is it's very much exactly the same as it was in the Victorian period. So all the pathways, or most of them, are in exactly the same place. The lakes are untouched, the boundary's untouched. It's pretty much identical to what it was, apart from the works that happened on the top side of the site for the festival and the fairground. But the majority of the actual park is exactly the same. For over 160, 70 years it's been open. And also, while I'm here, this park is seriously giving me Crystal Palace Park vibes. It reminds me so much of that park. And again, this section here reminds me so much of Central Park in New York. It really does. Even the little quirky bridges. And like I said, all these lakes have been here since day one, when the park was built. I've also noticed in the lake, there's lots of these little spurts in certain places in the lake. Now these could be the feeds from the pump house, so where the water comes out to replenish the lakes, or it could be a natural spring, or even an old fountain basin. I just can't tell from here. Comment down below if you know what they are. I tell you what, this is a great example of a city park. We're in the middle of London and you wouldn't know it at all. Pretty much like Central Park, although you can see the skyscrapers around that. This, you get so immersed in it, you're so buried deep in it, and you just haven't a clue where you are, and it's so quiet as well. Now this is the location of the original Victorian sunken gardens, or sunken tropical gardens. And I think it is still that today. I mean, it is sunken. It's in the middle of the lakes, and it still has a lot of planting. So yeah, this is what remains of it today. Nice to see it is still here. Now this section has probably seen the most change over the years, because right in front of us there used to be a big pond or a large pool, which was known as the drinking pool. On the far left over there was a paddling pool, and then just in the middle of this field here there was a large bandstand, just where those goalposts are over there. But all of that is completely gone. It's just playing fields now. And also this was used as allotments as well. So all this was actually covered over with many allotments all the way up the top of the site. A lot of them were then turned back to parkland when the festival began here. I couldn't have picked a worse day to come and do this. It is really gloomy and overcast, which is not great for the camera lighting. it's chucking it down, which it's just started to do again, and it's freezing. But it is mid-March, so you'd think it'd be better than this. And right here, another original bandstand. Again, I don't know if this is the actual bandstand, but there was one here back in the early days. So we're pretty much in the centre of the park now. So on the right hand side there you had the fairground, or the funfair. The festival site is all this section here, and then the Victorian section of the park is all this bottom section here. So we're kind of literally in the middle. So what we're going to do is head up here. I'm going to get you some before and after shots, and we're going to take a look at what's up here. Thank you very much for joining us and watching the video. I'll see you next week in the next one. Bye.